Taking my time, going down this road. I look to both sides, I enjoy the show. Don't worry about me, baby, I'm doing fine. Been real busy, taking my time, taking my time.
There is going to be an exhibit at the Hyde Desert Museum in Bend, Oregon. It opens up this weekend, kind of running through the summer. It's called Sensing Sasquatch. Rick is going to tell us about those artists.
This is Rick Hunt, and I am going to tell you a little bit about the artists that we're going to be talking with this afternoon. Frank Buffalo Hyde, who is Onondaga and Nez Perce. And Frank grew up in New York on his mother's Onondaga reservation. He began exhibiting his artwork at 18 years old as a hobby. He began taking his artwork career more seriously when he attended the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe. His artwork has been described as, quote, bold, culturally relevant, and inspiring, unquote, featuring vibrant colors and animal subjects, most commonly buffaloes and his tribe. Frank's way of creating his artwork is to combine numerous aspects of modern culture with the internet and technology and combine it with Native American ideas. Frank has stated that the intention of his artwork is to highlight the social and political problems in today's society. In addition, issues in today's society and in the lives of Native Americans is what drives him to continue with his career. Frank's goal for his artwork is to change the way people perceive Native American artwork and abolish any stereotypes that follow Native American artwork. He hopes to teach aspiring Native American artists to make the artwork that they want to make and not worry about their artwork being Indian enough or Native enough.
A
little bit about what you're doing and how you got involved.
Well, I guess that story begins where I was involved in a group show there about 2 years ago, and I got to know the curators and the director, and we started talking about, the subject of Bigfoot and having a Sasquatch exhibition, and that's kind of where the seed was planted. And then 2 years later, I was invited to be a part of this exhibition, and they commissioned me to make a work specifically for the exhibition. And it's really kind of hard to explain what I made for the exhibition. It's kind of I guess the easiest way to describe it would be a mixed media sculpture, kind of part relief, part painting, part experience kind of thing.
And if I recall, it's the Bigfoot rattle.
That's another artist.
Okay, I'm sorry. So it's a mixed media piece. Is most of your art mixed media, or do you do painting?
Primarily painting, but over the years I have done some mixed media sculpture. not traditional sculpture like you would think of out of like stone or wood or clay. Most of my sculptures are kind of giving objects that have already had a life in the world as one thing and sort of giving them a second life as art. So some people call it like found object art or you know ready-mades, that kind of thing. So yeah, so over the years I've sort of cultivated a body of work working in that style, and in the past couple of years I've been experimenting, exploring more with the installation side of my work, and I just had a large museum show in Central New York last year where I was able to make quite a few large scale installations and sculptures.
Fantastic. That's great. When you say that you use found materials and you keep using the materials, it's sort of, in my mind, it's like, you know, the native way of taking, not wasting anything, in a sense.
I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of truth behind that statement, but also, like, for me, it's just you know, it's something just how my mind works. When I see something, I like reconfigure it in my mind as you know, what would that look like with paint on it? What would it look like if I added, you know, some other textures to it or combine painting and this material? So over the years, I've kind of developed that sort of way of seeing things as they are, and then also things as they could be.
Wow. I love the theme of the show that you're working on, and I had read that you started kind of pushing your art when you were about 18.
Yeah. Well, I have artists on both sides of my family, so we were always, you know, there was always art around. There's people always doing something, and then so I was always doing something. So in elementary school, middle school, and high school, I've, you know, art classes kind of kept my grade point average up.
Yeah.
And and then I'd put together a portfolio in high school, and in that portfolio there were some charcoal drawings. So I think I took some of those drawings to a gallery in Syracuse and downtown in Armory Square, and there was a gallery owner that, you know, liked them enough to put them in a group exhibition there. So that's kind of, that was my first like official art show, I guess.
Huh. And so obviously you're still doing art, and you've had, can you tell us a little bit more about the museum show you had? I'm interested in hearing about that.
Yeah, that was my most recent museum exhibition. I've had a few. It was called Native Americana, and it was a solo exhibition at the Everson Museum in Syracuse, New York. And my nation is 6 miles outside of Syracuse, the Onondaga Nation. It's where I grew up, equal time between there and Santa Fe, New Mexico. So the show was about, I mean, there's definitely a dictionary definition of Americana, and there's, you know, definitely a dictionary definition of Native American and Native American art. But I, you know, in my research, I looked to see if there was a definition of Native Americana, and I couldn't really find anything about that. So I was sort of exploring the conversation and the iconography used in popular culture in regards to indigenous iconography. And, you know, what I found was, you know, a lot of, it seems like whenever any ad agency has like is stuck on an idea, they always go easily towards Native American iconography, because it's, you know, they feel it's the easiest one to go to, and also to this point they haven't been checked, you know, as far as how they use Native American images. So in the show I explored those different things, and had 3 galleries that I, you know, was able to use in the exhibition. So there were some paintings that were there were, I think, over like almost 30 paintings in the exhibition, and then there were a few installations on my, like I said, sculptural, mixed media ventures also. And it was up all summer, last summer in Syracuse, and yeah, so it was basically like a homecoming. Going back, being close to my nation. You know, it was special because our chief came and his son danced in the programming. So, you know, it was pretty special. My family was there, and we had a 30-year reunion of my rock and roll band, No Good Reason. We played at the reception also. So it was kind of like the closing of a bunch of circles, and also sort of like a glimpse into sort of the direction I'm going in professionally as an artist, like sort of the things I'm interested in making now.
Wow, that's terrific, and congratulations. That sounds pretty cool. Now,
yeah, it was really great. Thanks.
You just mentioned that you had a rock and roll band. When you're creating, does music play a part of how you create? Do you have it in the background playing, or do you ever consider music as a medium in what you do?
Definitely music is a part of it. You know, in my early career, there was always loud music like blaring whenever I was working in the studio or when I was in the studio. But sort of kind of evolved over the years that, you know, I approach making art the same way as composing music. You know, it's sort of different layers and levels. Yep. And then, of course, when you're playing with other musicians, it's a collaborative thing. So, you know, you lay a groundwork, and then you sort of give up your idea to other people to, you know, add their parts. But a lot of my work has song titles in them, or titled over song titles or lyrics. If you go through, if you Google my work or take a look at my website, you'll see there is a lot of musical references, just because it is, you know, something, you know, I started out as a musician, and I thought, you know, my family had enough like fine artists in it, and that I didn't need one more. So, but, you know, slowly but surely it came looking for me. So I ended up making a decision to primarily do, you know, fine art, but I am still, you know, my daughter plays music. We have guitars in the house and a keyboard and microphones and all kinds of stuff like that. So she plays, and she's been picking the guitar pretty fast. And so I do occasionally play, but I haven't played publicly for a while, but I think that's going to change here pretty soon.
Wow. So that's on your deck coming up, that you're going to continue with your music. And do you have any plans right now for any particular projects that you have in your mind that you're going to do?
Absolutely. Like I always joke with my family and my wife, like at the end of the year, the beginning of the new year, like my schedule is like wide open, and I like, oh wow, you know, maybe this year just kind of take it easy and, you know, kind of piddle around in the studio, mess around with a few ideas. But by the time it gets to be like May or June, I've got like a bunch of things going on, and then by, you know, the middle of the summer and the early fall, I'm just like, you know, have to learn how to like say no to things. But I've done a pretty good job of like being able to say no recently, because as a young artist, you feel like, you know, if you say no to something that, you know, you're going to miss something, or your career's going to suffer somehow. But to answer your question, yes, I have a solo exhibition coming up here in May in Minnesota at All My Relations Art Space. And in conjunction with that, I'm going to be playing songs that are connected to, you know, the show, and sort of where I am right now in my life and my creative experience.
Wow.
And sort of like a not a relaunching, but, you know, sort of like a reconnecting with that sort of early music part of me that I kind of, you know, put a pause on for a little bit. But I realize now, as I'm older, you know, you can do more than one thing, and 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 not have to do one or the other.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
Wow, that sounds great. I wish I could attend that and see what you're doing.
It'll probably be online somewhere, but I think I just spoke with the director, and so we're trying to figure out the programming for that exhibition. I think it's going to be up for 10 weeks over the summer. But yeah, so it's it's kind of scary, but I think when I started out as a musician, like when you're a young artist, you like put all of these rules for yourself, like I can't do this, I won't do that, and I got to do this, I got to do that. But as you get older, you realize that it's not so much about black or white. Life and art is a series of gray tones where you have to navigate things.
Wow. Can Frank, can you describe a little bit about your piece that's in the Sasquatch show? Can you tell us a little bit about, I know you're on the radio, but can you tell us what it looks like?
I can't. I want it to be a surprise, but so I want people to go there. But I can say that it is like it's at least 9 feet tall. There are sound elements, there are video elements, and some sort of painting and sculptural elements in it as well. So it's kind of taps into everything, sensorily, with the exception of smell and taste. But I think it will satisfy your visual cravings and your sound cravings as well as And I understand there's some other elements in the exhibition that are going to be sort of in complement to my piece and vice versa. So there are other like digital components to it that are pretty exciting that I don't think people necessarily are expecting or have seen before in an exhibition period. But the subject matter is so like unique. I don't recall any other museum or gallery having specifically a Sasquatch exhibition quite with the tone that this one has. This one is it's not tongue-in-cheek, it's not like a tourist trap. It's when we were talking about doing the exhibition, we wanted it to be very much a serious exploration of how Indigenous people think about Sasquatch, and not like having it be in search of, or trying to get people to decide if if the being exists or not. Quite the opposite. The focus of the show is dealing with the relevance of this being in oral history and day-to-day lives.
That's fascinating. I wish I could see this show. And as you were saying, I don't think I have ever heard of a serious show about something like Sasquatch. And I think you're right. It tends to be a touristy kind of image story that people use to sort of make like in Whitehall, New York, supposedly there was a sighting, and you go there for a powwow, and there's like wooden chainsaw statues of Sasquatch outside the porta potty.
Yeah, something to sell T-shirts and hats and get people to come in town and spend money.
Right.
That's I think, yeah, we're pretty sensitive to it not falling to that. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, there was definitely great care taken in the curation and the exhibition labels and the text that go along with the exhibition, sort of explaining and sort of elaborating on how Indigenous people coexist, with the medicine that is Sasquatch, or what the reverence and what the meaning is to different tribes, geographically.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It would be great if they put out a catalog of your show.
I think that's up to the museum. I'm always
Yeah.
pro catalog, but it really comes down to sort of like what they have in place as far as working with a publisher and timeline and
Oh, wow.
that kind of thing. I think it definitely would warrant something like that, just because of the uniqueness of the exhibition. And I'm not sure if it's planning on traveling, but I think a catalog would be excellent for educational purposes going forward, or even if they do decide to do another iteration further on down the line.
I think it's great that you're doing this, and it sounds like your art process lends itself really great to what you're doing there.
It does. It was really, it's a great fit. I mean, I've been interested in cryptozoology and that sort of thing since I was a kid. My older sister was into paranormal things and cryptozoology, and kind of like I'd go in there and go through her things and read her books and like watch the videos that she would check out. And so it kind of got me interested, and these things have popped up in my work over the years as paintings. And I think I didn't have to go outside of my wheelhouse to be in this exhibition, and it was always already something I've been thinking about and creating about over the years. So it was it's an honor to be in the show, number one, because I think a lot of people in indigenous country have a relationship and have a reverence for Sasquatch, and there's many artists that use them in their work, whether it be beadwork or painting or drumming. I even saw like a ribbon skirt that was Bigfoot themed over the holiday season.
Yeah.
I was trying to get it, but we went back to look for it, and somebody already got it. So. But yeah, so it's an honor as an artist to be one of the few that are in the exhibition, and I hope anyone that gets to see the show or gets to see what we've done online gets something out of it. I mean, everybody is either inspired or some sort of validation of some sort. But yeah,
it seems like your art has evolved in such a way that it's a natural part of that show, that you were meant to do this, I think.
It kind of felt like it, kind of feels like it. And I think, fingers crossed, the end result is, going to be something that will definitely, inspire some sort of reaction. Like I said, art for me has always been about that, any sort of reaction or conversation that comes from it, negative or positive. I mean, it is a reaction. So, I've heard everything in reaction to my work. And in my early years, I intentionally didn't do interviews or have photographs of me, just my work, because as a younger artist, and to some extent, even now, I believe my work is much more important than what I look like. But I think I've sort of softened on those rules after I became a father, because my daughter, has had a lot to do with that, as far as like she doesn't see me as anything other than dad. So it kind of like lessens the seriousness of me being a serious artist. So, but to go back to my story, like for like the first 10 years or so, nobody really knew what I looked like. So when I would have shows, I could be in the exhibition and like listen to what people were talking about my work. So, it was amazing. Like it was so like validating, but it was also like heartbreaking, because people would be like, "Oh my God, look at this! Oh, it's so horrible! Like my daughter could paint that," and I was like, or my son could paint that, or I could paint that," and I was just like, and they're just like, "Oh, so yeah, it's like super fun to be like an invisible person in your own exhibition." But as I got further into my career and started, getting more notoriety and stuff, I would people would recognize me on the street, and so I'd be walking around with my daughter, and people were talking to me, and I'd say hi to them, and she would always say, "Do you know that person?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Well, why are they talking to you?" I was like, "I don't know. They probably recognize me from TV or magazine or something." So she's
that's great.
but now she's used to it, and so it's she's a teenager now, so like everything is annoying to her. So, but there was a time when it was like there was a time when it was cool, like, yeah, everybody knows.
Wow. Now, does she paint and draw as well? Or?
Oh, she's so like it comes so easily to her. I'm like,
wow.
I'm mildly offended, but mostly proud. Like how she could just like exude like art and everything she does, but she's not interested in art like as a vocation. She's interested in volleyball right now. She's obsessed with volleyball and is on the team, and she played with the high school team and is on the club team. So I drive her around to practice and different tournaments. But yeah, to answer your question, we had an open studio in Santa Fe for when she was 10 months old till when she was till she was like 8, and we would paint in there, and people would come in, and she sold her paintings, and she became quite a shrewd little art dealer selling her work.
Oh, wow, and, fantastic!
Yeah, and then so now she still does come in the studio and work every once in a while, and like I said, she just to see her work, it's not a big deal for her. She just gets in there and does it, and then I'm just like, wow, I wish I had that sort of confidence and self-awareness like at her age, because it took, like I said, after I got out of school and decided I'm going to be an artist, there was a period of time, I call the woodshed years, like 8 to 10 years, where I would just was painting and painting, and I thought I was making like masterpieces, but they were just like basically landfill fillers, and then it took a lot of no's, but it only took one yes to get started, showing in galleries and that kind of stuff. So it's I don't know if every artist does that, but that's kind of what I did. I kind of took the time to do the work, make the paintings, make the horrible, ugly paintings, and try to get through to something that made some kind of sense to me in the world.
Well, it does sound like people are responding to your art and having a dialogue with it, from what you're saying. And
yeah, I mean, that's all any artist really can hope for. But for me specifically, there is so much art out there that is a product that's geared towards being sold or packaged, or so that somebody can go to a specific part of the world and come back with something, and it looks like where they went, and so they think, oh, we bought that in wherever you're living or whatever town you're showing in. And my work, for whatever reason, I've always been drawn to making work that was more content orientated, that had a message, that was also, very well done and, aesthetically nice to look at, but functioned on more than just, a pretty painting, had, layers of sardonic content.
And it matches the couch.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it does and it doesn't, and I'm really kind of I'm skeptical of people that have couches that match my paintings. I'm like, it says more about the persons than it does about me.
Well, I think, listening to you, I'm very impressed with what you're doing and where you've been and how you're making your artwork. And I like the messages that you attach to your work. Yeah,
I suffer the consequences and reap the rewards of the choices I've made as an artist and in my career. And, they, at first you're sort of like trying to figure out like what you can do. But as you, do anything, you start realizing that you can choose to do what you want to do, but you just have to accept the consequences and reap the rewards from it. So, and it's also, art is not for everyone. an art life isn't for everyone, because it takes a lot of commitment and believing in yourself even when there's nothing going on, saying like, I'm doing this for a reason, like, I have to do this. And I've been very fortunate that, I've had sort of every year, better opportunities, better sales, more, still consistent interest. And it's really tough to, keep doing it, have people still interested in it. So like 25 years later or so, the people are still interested in what I do. And I think that comes from the editing that I do in the studio. Is like, if it's not cool to me, then it never gets out into the world. So it's got to be cool to me first, and then maybe, show it to other people. So but I'm also one of those artists that doesn't think everything I make is amazing. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, whoa. Yeah, but it's subjective though. So somebody could see it in like 5 years and like, oh my God, that matches my couch.
Wow. I love your philosophy. And also, I would say that, an individual piece of artwork speaks to people differently. You can put a piece of artwork out there and somebody says, it's not my cup of tea. It doesn't feel to me. And then somebody else will come by and go, wow, this is exactly what I was looking for.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing with art, music, literature, almost any sort of expression is, one person's masterpiece is another person's like coaster. So I think, but that's one of the things about the Sasquatch show, is that everyone has some sort of narrative with the subject. Like, whether it's religious, I guess that's the closest way to describe it, or whether it's, medicine, or whether it's, just from what they know from the movies and TV, or tourist kind of things. Like everyone, there's a shorthand and a shortcut, so people will know exactly what you're talking about to a certain extent. So I think that's something that's, images like that and subjects like that, I'm really drawn to that, because it's popular culture, and like, that built-in relationship and narrative that people have is sort of the way that I mine images and content for my work, and sort of use them to express myself, and sort of document the time that we live in now, because I believe that's an artist's job, is to, if we all get like wiped away by a giant wave or a meteor, they'll find some of my paintings or sculptures and be like, hey, wow, this is weird. Did people really like have little black bricks in their hands that they used to talk to, and and they didn't use like telepathy or whatever. So yeah, wow. That's kind of where I'm at.
That's great. How many artists are involved with this Sasquatch show?
It's in my notes, but I believe that there are 5 artists.
Oh, okay.
That are in the show. So it's not a huge show, but it's, the curators definitely wanted to get artists that were from the region around Bend, Oregon, and the Hyde Desert Museum. And then they put me in there because I don't know. I'm just kind of like, I'm not an afterthought, maybe a period or an exclamation point. Maybe I'll think of it that way instead.
Well, I think it's fantastic that you're in that show. I'm very intrigued by it, actually. Deb, how much time do we have?
About 5 more minutes.
Okay. Frank, we have about 5 more minutes left on this Zoom show. Is there anything that you would like to say to the audience about art or anything?
Sure. I mean, but I also, like, I think, anybody's art or my art, or even the pieces in the exhibition, once they leave, the confines of where you create, and and the confines of your imagination. Once it's out in the world, it's up to everyone to bring their conclusions to it. So I may have an idea about what it's about, but the public and anybody, the viewers, bring their own. They connect the dots themselves is what I'm trying to say. Is like so, and I think that's one of the most intriguing and fun elements about art and music is that people sort of complete the circle with their own experiences and their own narratives, and I really think that's that takes place in between your ears, and and how you process the world and process information and feel things. So everybody does it differently. So as we were talking about before, you take 10 people, they all go through the exhibition, they all take a look at your work. You'll probably get more than 3 or 4 different perspectives on what they saw and what they take out of it. And that's amazing. So I think on an exhibition level, as far as viewership and what the viewers see, I think it's going to be pretty exciting to sort of see how it's received. And but for my work in general, like it's although I've been doing it a while, I really feel that I'm actually just getting started, and I think that's kind of what keeps me engaged and sort of going and trying different things, because I always leave room for that exploration and that experimentation to sort of fine tune my process. There's so many artists that create, they come up with this formula that people respond to, and they keep jumping through that same hoop, making different versions of the same cake. Like, but I would love to be able to do that, but I'm not that kind of artist.
Yep.
And like I said, I suffer the consequences and reap the rewards from the choices I made in my own practice. And I think hopefully we'll be reaping some rewards going forward.
Good. I want to take a moment to say thank you for being on the show. It's a delight to meet you, and I'm very impressed with what you're doing and your philosophy about art. And you're welcome to come and be on our show again.
I appreciate your time, and thanks for the interest, and thanks for spending a little bit of it with me this afternoon.